Welcome to Red-tastic. Story 1. Okay, so buckle up because this one is a doozy. Obligatory burner account. All names have been changed, of course, so I will briefly give an overview of the situation. My husband has a younger sister, 21 female, named Sarah. Sarah dated a guy named Jeff, 26 male, for about 6 months before they decided to have a baby. Now, Jeff already had one kid from a previous relationship that he didn't take care of, but this did not stop Sarah. They succeeded in getting pregnant pretty quickly and got married afterwards. We all had our doubts, but for the baby's sake, we put them aside and accepted Jeff. Things are fine while Sarah is pregnant, and during this time, my husband, then boyfriend, and I get married and pregnant ourselves. We had been dating for 3 years by this point and had this plan for a while. Sarah gives birth to a healthy baby girl about 3 months later, and Jeff abandons them almost immediately. Just complete and total abandonment. He even goes as far as to block Sarah from contacting him via phone or social media, even though they are still married at this point. No forwarding address, no idea where he lives, nothing. Sarah, understandably, moves back in with my husband's parents. Sarah is pretty depressed from the breakdown of her marriage, again totally understandable. Despite this, she vows to get her act together, get her GED, get a job, and in general be a good mom to her daughter. Great, right? We are all very supportive. Well, things didn't exactly work out like she promised. She did well at first. She took classes and got a job cleaning houses. But slowly she started to abandon all these things to hang out with her friends and party until finally she decides she's not going to come home for good, thus leaving her infant daughter in her mom and dad's care. This brings us to the current situation. My husband's parents are in their 50s and have some health problems, so while they're taking care of my niece for now, things don't look good long term. Cue my husband suggesting we take the baby. While my husband has a nice job, we are also young, 25, so we don't have a lot of savings, and we already have a newborn of our own. Taking care of one baby is tough, but 2 is crazy, and while I would have help from my husband's mom, it would still be a lot at once. Not to mention the financial toll of raising a kid in today's world. It's a huge responsibility that I don't feel prepared for. I love my niece, and it's not fair what happened to her. I just don't want to adopt her. But my husband does not understand this and says we will manage, so I feel like a real bitch saying otherwise. I've never been in or even seen a situation like this before, so I'm truly at a loss. Am I the a-hole or not? You're not the a-hole, OP. You are currently taking care of a newborn, and adding another child into the mix sounds like a lot of work in all aspects. However, I understand your husband wanting to adopt his niece who literally has no one now, since both her parents took off and her grandparents are too old to take care of her. You should both agree on what to do and find compromises where possible. I really hope whatever decision you make pleases everyone involved. And if you do decide to adopt her, please be sure to never give her back to her mother. She shouldn't be allowed to call herself her mother only when it's convenient for her. Now for some comments. Not the a-hole, but this may cause irreversible damage to your marriage. I would get into therapy with your husband immediately so you can have a safe place to talk about it. Also, why not wait? Let grandma and grandpa raise the kid for a while. 50s isn't that old. And take over later if they need it. This doesn't sound like an urgent problem. Not the a-hole. There are already way too many people out there having kids they don't want and can't take care of. Case in point, Sarah and Jeff. And it's not fair on the kids. What also isn't fair on the kids is to then be with someone else who isn't prepared or able to care for them. Your niece needs a family suited to her needs, willing and ready to take care of her and be able to provide her with a stable home life. If that isn't you, then it isn't you. That may suck for your family, but it's not about you guys anymore. It's about what's best for her. No a-holes here. It is good-hearted of your husband to want to do this. It doesn't mean you're the a-hole for not wanting to go along with it. It's a big investment of money and time. You didn't sign up for this. You both have to agree you want to do this and you don't. I feel so sorry for your husband, his parents and you. And most of all, of course, the niece. Do you mean adopt as in legally binding? Have she and the biological dad signed away all the rights to the kids? I would be especially leery about adopting this kid if it's just in name only because of the likelihood of the bio mom coming back and demanding the kid. Story 2. I, 45 male, married my wife, 45 female, 18 years ago. We have 2 kids, 1 boy, 15 male, and 1 daughter, 13 female. We're both from the UK. I met her when I was 18 years old. Now this backstory is really important. I come from a working class family and didn't have much. But due to outstanding grades, I was able to go to University of Oxford, which for my family was amazing. It was a struggle though because we didn't have much in terms of money. I considered myself grateful to God to be let in though, even though I believe I earned it. That's when I met my wife. I met her while at Oxford. We met in class and pretty much hit off right away. But I have to say, she was more into me than I was to her. We began dating shortly after. I wasn't sure whether I was 100% into her, but I did like her a lot. She was also much richer than I. Her family was wealthy and they had connections. They accepted me very quickly, so I kept dating her. After finishing at Oxford, it didn't take long to find a job. We kept on dating, and eventually after some years, I popped the question. We have kids and we both have high-paying jobs. I'm sure I would have had a high-paying job even if I didn't stay with her, due to the prestige of Oxford. However, I have to be honest, the stability her family provided was a major reason why I stayed with her. I have never told anyone that I've never truly loved her the way she does me, until recently. I told my friend, also 45 male, and he said it was pretty effed up. I reasoned that circumstances were quite different because her stability was a reason for my deciding to be with her. I think you can't entirely remove that aspect. Needless to say, he was shocked. I have never cheated on my wife, ever. I've never been tempted to, but I guess I'm not in love with her the same way she was me. OP, you obviously love your wife in some way. Love comes in a whole variety of ranges. I believe a lot of marriages are based on things that have nothing to do with love and they end up ending in love. Afraid of being alone, wanting a family, financial reasons, or simply because it's expected of them. One of your reasons for marrying her was a financial stability. I don't think that's bad at all, especially since you don't rely on her wealth and you actually work yourself. If you're both happy, you don't cheat and you two have a good working relationship, I think you're good. You can decide to talk this out with your wife, preferably in the presence of a marriage counselor, and see where it goes from there if it bothers you. Now for some comments. Not the a-hole, feelings come and go. Loving someone because of a sense of stability and compassion is totally appropriate, in my opinion. Sounds like a midlife crisis to me. Go on a vacation, just you and her. Start dating her again. Having kids is one of the most challenging things and redefines relationships way beyond what is expected. You both are in a new stage of life, and I'm sure you can rekindle a new love affair if given the chance. Don't leave it to feelings, as they change constantly. No a-holes here. I don't know why everyone sounds so angry in this thread. People get married for different reasons. You care for her and appreciate the stability that money brings. So you married her. It sounds like you're happy together and have built a good life together. The reality is that people settle, but that doesn't mean they're a-holes or have a bad life. Perhaps because Reddit skews younger, many commenters haven't seen it. But it does happen. Whatever you decide to do, think carefully before blowing up a functioning marriage because internet strangers told you to. You're the a-hole for having these feelings for the past 20 years and not discussing them with her. However, I think you are thinking about this all wrong. Love isn't some magic fairy tale thing that you instantly feel all the time. It's hard work, fighting bad times, good times, emotional roller coasters. Do you care about her? Do you want to make her happy and support her in being happy and healthy? Do you want to be there for her in the bad times and support her through it? That's love. That's care. That is what matters. You seem to be hung up on the guilt that you're with her because of money reasons. You should seek out a therapist and start with this. Story 3. Don't think ages are too relevant, but if you have to know, I'm 21 male and my cousin, who we can call, let's say Bobby, is 22 male. Me and Bobby and our families were at our grandparents' house 3 years ago on Christmas. After all the usual presents, Bobby decides to come out to everyone. Now, this was no surprise to me or his parents, but it was new information to my parents and grandparents. My parents were accepting enough and my grandma was quiet. My grandpa, however, was very homophobic and blew up. He and Bobby got into a screaming match, and Grandpa basically said he was disowning Bobby and writing him out of his will unless he went to conversion therapy. Bobby obviously refused, and that was that. Recently, Grandpa has passed away, and sure enough, I was willed his entire fortune, which is pretty large to say the least. Bobby got almost nothing, just a single dollar, which almost seemed like a final F you from my grandpa. Anyways, Bobby has been demanding that I give him half of my inheritance because the only reason Grandpa didn't give him his rightful inheritance is because of homophobia. And if I don't give him the money, I'm being just as homophobic as Grandpa. I said no, and Bobby blew up at me. Since then, our family has been torn apart, with Bobby and his parents blowing up my phone demanding I give Bobby his money, and my parents telling me to just do it as well so their family can stop annoying us. I want that money though. Grandpa may have been a homophobe, but he willed that money for me, and as selfish as this might sound, it's my money, so I want to keep it. I can pay off my student debt and finish the rest of college debt-free with the inheritance. And I can also perhaps buy a house or something when I eventually want to. Am I the a-hole for not giving half of it to Bobby? Edit. To answer some questions and provide more details, my grandma is dead and died before Grandpa did. The money is in the high six figures. Bobby has his college and apartment paid for by his parents. I do not. I also plan on going to med school if that's relevant, so I will probably be racking up a lot of debt in addition to what I have. I plan on using what is left after my education on a house. Now for some comments. Everyone sucks here, but you're the only one with the power to right or wrong. If you believe gay people deserve the same treatment as everyone else, then you can undo your grandfather's bigotry. If you believe that discriminating against someone for being gay is okay, then the money is yours with a clear conscience. But if you choose the latter and the rest of your family believes the former, don't bother buying a big enough house to host a family gathering. What does your grandmother think? Well, if the only reason your grandpa didn't split his inheritance evenly is that your cousin is gay, and they didn't have a falling out or you were way closer to your grandpa than him, then yes, you're the a-hole in my opinion. Not because of some kind of your own homophobia, but because you're totally willing to knowingly profit from your grandfather's. I understand your motives, and I know and understand that it was your grandfather's choice who to give his money to, but now it's yours and you have to ask yourself if you really want to start your life with the money you only got because of your grandfather's outdated and hateful view of the world. You're the a-hole. Yes, he was homophobe, but whatever comes after the but, namely the inheritance, is clearly more important to you than your grandpa's virulent homophobia. And yes, you are perpetuating it by keeping the money, because the only reason Bobby didn't get it because Grandpa thought he was undeserving and inferior specifically for being gay. Surely if you do not believe that, you see that you should share. As someone pointed out, legally you are not in the wrong, but that doesn't mean you can't be a douche. Spoiler alert, you are. I don't know if this is for real, but there you have it. You're the a-hole.